Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today, trolling and cheap sarcasm stay at minimum power. Let's deal with a simple question with very uncomfortable answers. What is the European Union really? A peace project or a very polite, very digital empire? After 1945, Europe was rubble. 2 wars in 30 years grew from the same root. Nationalism inflated to the level of holy hatred. The main problem was brutally simple. How do you make sure France and Germany never again point tanks at each other? The answer was just as brutal in its simplicity. Don't trust speeches, lock the hardware. In 1951, the European coal and steel community appears. Coal and steel, the energy and the weapons of that era, are put under one supranational authority for 6 states. If your war industries are welded together, war stops being heroic and becomes financially suicidal. It was mutual disarmament wrapped in the pretty paper of economic cooperation. Then comes classic integration from below, the Treaty of Rome in 1957, the European Economic Community, the Common Market, customs duties disappearing, free movement of goods and later people. Brussels was still just an administrator, not an imperial capital. The goal was stability, not dominance. Gray bureaucracy instead of colorful uniforms. 1991 changes everything. The Soviet Union collapses. A whole pole of power disappears. At the same time, Germany reunifies in the middle of Europe. Old European reflexes wake up instantly. The answer is Maastricht in 1992, formally the Treaty on European Union, in practice an attempt to dissolve German power into a larger supranational structure and turn the EU from a gentleman's club into an instrument of power. A single currency appears. The euro becomes the bloodstream of the system, and Frankfurt with the European Central Bank becomes the heart. Today, 20 countries share that currency, with more lined up in the waiting room. Budgets may be national, but the interest rate is one size fits all. Comfortable if you are Germany, much less funny if you are Greece or Italy. Around this grows a 3-level command chain. First level, the European Commission writes the rules. National parliaments can debate, shout, and wave flags, but the first draft didn't come from them. Second level, the Court of Justice of the EU puts those rules above national constitutions. If a Brussels directive collides with your basic law, you already know who usually wins. Third level, money, structural funds, cohesion funds, green funds, next generation EU, many beautiful labels, one logic. You want billions for roads, railways, digitalization. Then you adjust your tax system, your pension age, your migration rules. Formally, you are sovereign. In practice, you are the branch manager of a franchise. Eastern enlargement only locked in this imperial logic. Candidates first opened their markets and got a wave of cheap Western goods. Local factories couldn't compete and quietly died. Economic dependence appears first, flags and speeches come later. Then comes the legal phase, tens of thousands of pages of EU law, harmonization with European standards, full rebuild of entire legal systems. In exchange for a seat at the table and a flag outside a building in Brussels, you hand over tariffs, agricultural policy, parts of social policy, and a solid piece of foreign policy. Parallel to that, a hard power frame is built. Permanent structured cooperation in defense, joint planning, joint procurement, forces for rapid deployment. Now they add the idea of a common European intelligence structure and a single picture of threats. The main enemy is assigned in advance, Russia. And where there is one official enemy, sooner or later there will be one official headquarters. The top floor of this construction is control over perception. The Digital Services Act gives Brussels heavy tools to pressure platforms and social networks, officially to fight disinformation and harmful content. In practice, inconvenient viewpoints can simply disappear from feeds and from search results. This is not old-school censorship with blue pencil and banned books. This is algorithmic suppression. You don't see the thought, and it feels like it doesn't exist at all. Very clean, very modern, very convenient. So what do we have in the end? The EU is no longer just a union of states. It is a soft, digital, algorithmic empire. It almost never uses bayonets. It works with contracts, money, regulations, and code. It doesn't shout submit. It patiently builds a system where submission looks like the only rational European choice. Russia's answer to this setup cannot be childish denial or another hysterical down with Brussels. The task is not to blow up someone else's castle. The task is to build our own space of sovereignty, economic, technological, cultural, and ideological, so that our neighbors have a real choice not between two empires, but between life inside a controlled system and cooperation with a strong but sovereign state. And that requires more than patriotic speeches. It needs our own model, our own idea, and to put it bluntly, our own armored train on a sidetrack, ready, fueled, and maintained. Empires always test weakness. Those who survive are not the loudest, but those who manage to stay themselves when yet another peace project quietly turns into yet another empire. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I wish you all the best.